your calling has to be something bigger than you, where you're impacting people's lives. You might be the only person that they come across that might care. And I have seen firsthand the impact of being able to assist somebody and have their life turn around 180 degrees. It's what gets me up in the morning. It's what keeps me going. And now, obviously, as a teacher, imparting that same knowledge on to students who, in turn, pay it forward. And so I would say, whatever you serve, and especially with this with this community, it is bigger than you. It is truly a calling. It's not for everybody. But if you're called to this profession, do it to the best of your ability, because that's what you were called to do. And use that degree at CSU to your advantage to get to where you want to go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Career Services Presents Inside the Industry, the Professor Spotlight Series. Today we have Dr. Terrance Hinton of the College of Safety and Emergency Services. Dr. Hinton, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us the classes that you teach?
Absolutely, Chassie. So hello, everyone. As she said, my name is Terrance Hinton. I work as a full-time faculty member in the College of Emergency Services. So I teach an array of classes within the criminal justice realm spectrum. I also teach in a lot of Homeland Security classes. So global terrorism, typology of terrorism, criminal justice administration, juvenile crime and delinquency, probation and parole, correctional theories, practices and corrections, criminal investigations. So an array of courses that changes from time to time depending upon the enrollment and the staffing needs. So I'm kind of all over the place.
You definitely teach a wide variety of classes, and sounds like you probably have a really interesting background when it comes to your experience. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
Yes, so I have spent anywhere between the last 8 to 10 years within the nonprofit public policy spectrum. So I did work with people who are incarcerated. Up to date, I've worked with close to almost 2,500 formerly justice-involved citizens, people with felony backgrounds, people who were within their last 6 months of the year in their sentence. And really what I did was a former program manager at a nonprofit agency called Alvis in Columbus, Ohio, was I supervised the workforce development program. And so really working with these individuals in regards to educational, vocational programming needs, mental health, cognitive behavioral therapy, housing, ID, all of those barriers that a lot of the justice-involved population face when they come out of prison. So I worked with individuals who served a year, and my longest-serving client served 47 years in prison. So I worked with people from all different backgrounds and walks of life who made mistakes. They served their time. And now what I was really working with them doing was trying to help them successfully reintegrate back into the community.
That's amazing. A very, very great background experience. You kind of touched on, criminal justice and working with those who are incarcerated. So for our students and alumni who are interested in working in that industry, what are some special skills that you would recommend that they possess?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So one of the most important things that I would recommend, obviously having a degree is important, but really knowing how to communicate and really have empathy for this population. To be quite honest, I also go in and out of prisons from time to time. COVID has kind of changed that. And so I kind of consult a lot. And one of the things I explain to people is when you work with this population, they really don't care about your degree or your background. What they really care about is how you treat them. So some of the simple things that we learned when we were young in kindergarten: treat others as you want to be treated, treat them with respect. When you're in prison, it's a totally different dynamic. And so for students who get that degree, really knowing how to communicate with somebody who may have lived a different life from you. In my walk, working with this population, I had people, I was shocked at who came into my class. I had people who had a fifth grade education off the street and never had a job before in their life, been in a gang all their life. I also worked with professors at universities who got in trouble and had a felony in their background, state troopers, lawyers, doctors. And so being able to communicate and really listen and really take in some of the things that are being said, I think that's a critical skill. I would also say communication, obviously technology. Serving that population, there's a lot of skills that they lack, and they come to you to help them with those skills. And so you might be the only person that knows how to show them how to send an email. Things that are simple that we would take for granted, they don't know how to do. And so I really think being able to work with that population, being diverse, diversity is a huge thing now. And understanding that some of the clients that you come across, they've committed, honestly, some crimes that are not, that are looked frowned upon by the community. So I worked with people who were convicted of murder, kidnap. I do work with sex offenders, gay, lesbian, transgender, no matter kind of race, KKK, Aryan Nation. You have to be able to relate to all different types of people who look different than you, who think different than you, and act different than you. And if you can do that, and you can still treat them with respect and maintain your integrity and character, they will come to you, they will talk to you, and they will come to you for help. And so it is truly a calling of mine. It's not for everybody, but understanding that degree is just the first step. Really knowing how to communicate and talk to people is very important in this profession.
It definitely sounds like something that you're very passionate about. So did you
Yes.
always see yourself working in this industry, or is this kind of something that might have been off from what you originally started out wanting to do?
That's a very good question. And it's funny you asked that, because no, it was not in my plans at all. Actually, I wanted to be an FBI special agent, and I was actually accepted into the FBI Academy. This was over a decade ago as a special agent. It was like a 1.5-year process that I had to go through. Now, I believe this is around the 2007-2008 time. They had a shutdown with the government funding. And so it became a waiting thing, and it turned into a month, then 2 months, then 6 months. Around this time, I had several family members who had made some bad decisions and got arrested and became incarcerated. And when they got out, I began to, just because I was so close with them, I got to see many of the barriers that they faced coming out because they had a felony on their record. And if you have a felony on your record, it's like a scarlet letter, and access to housing, employment, loans, licenses, voting, depending upon what state you're in, a lot of economic mobility. And I started to see their struggles. And so then I started to ask the question, how is it that how are we expected to have people come out of prison and be a contributing member of society if we put all these barriers in place? And so that kind of started my journey into the reentry field. Never would have thought that I was going to be where I'm at today. And I realized, as you say, it's something I love. It's not a job for me. It is something I love. I stepped away in January of this year and transitioned to my role full-time at CSU as a faculty member. But I still consult a good bit, and I still work with the population because of my success with my workforce development program and the outcomes that I had. So I'm called upon a lot by nonprofits in the area and really nationwide to kind of assist and looking forward to actually getting back into working in the prison system next year once the COVID crisis kind of dies down.
Yeah, so it sounds like in the work that you do, I'm sure, you're kind of looked at as like a mentor to people. So did you and do you currently have any mentors who have helped you professionally?
Yes, I am a mentor to many of my clients. A lot of them came from fatherless homes. And so it's a little ironic, I have men who served life sentences in their 50 and they kind of look to me as that father figure, and I'm much younger than them. But a lot of it's childhood things that they did not have. And so for me, really, my mentor has really, it's been my personal faith and really my faith in Christ and my parents, really, who have been my mentors, and really just pushing me to do what I was called to do. I played college football, so I was very much into sports. My father played football. My sister and brother played college sports. But they always told me at the end of the day is do what you were called to do, not what we want you to do. And so I kind of just stuck with that and really followed my heart with that. And really, like I said before, when I saw the impact that incarceration, having that background had on my family members, I realized that I was called to do something different, something that's bigger than me, and contributing something that is bigger than me, which is what I love about CSU. This is bigger than me. It's about the students. And so imparting that knowledge and collaborating with people who are in the field is something that I love doing.
That's amazing. Mentors, I believe, are so important. And I know you kind of mentioned earlier about, seeing your family members and some of the barriers that they ran into. So along your career path, did you have, what would you say was your most challenging part of your career path that you've had so far?
Oh, man. I would say, really making that transition, because at the time that I would say making that transition to working with people who are incarcerated. I myself have never been incarcerated. I don't have a background at all. And all of a sudden, I'm introduced to people who have no education, had no parents in the home, had experienced traumatic experiences, been incarcerated, been in and out of prison, no money, no family, a lot of them. And one of the biggest, people who are in gangs, again, white supremacy groups, and I'm an African-American male. And my biggest challenge was, how can I connect with a population that I have absolutely no experience to draw from whatsoever? That was a big challenge for me. And so for me, navigating that barrier, it was really just kind of going back to what I was talking about, communicating and listening. And I realized it was the simplest things that I was doing that had people coming back to me. It took some time for me to learn, behaviors and anger management and a lot of the things that processes they have to go through, but really just staying patient with that and trusting the process. And I learned as clients kept coming back to me that, okay, I'm doing the right things. And so, but I will say it was not easy at first because there was no relation there. I didn't know how to connect. And I learned that really stepping back and listening and knowing how to properly communicate was the key to working with this population.
That's amazing. And I know you kind of left us with some really good information, but if you were to leave the students and alumni with a key piece of information or advice for someone wanting to get into the industry, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that this profession is, whether you go into criminal justice or something else, the degree at CSU is important, but at the end of the day, it's really, your calling has to be something bigger than you, where you're impacting people's lives. You might be the only person that they come across that might care. And I have seen firsthand the impact of being able to assist somebody and have their life turn around 180 degrees. It's what gets me up in the morning. It's what keeps me going. And now, obviously, as a teacher, imparting that same knowledge on to students who, in turn, pay it forward. And so I would say, whatever you serve, and especially with this with this community, it is bigger than you. It is truly a calling. It's not for everybody. But if you're called to this profession, do it to the best of your ability, because that's what you were called to do, and use that degree at CSU to your advantage to get to where you want to go.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Hinton. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to answer a few questions for us, and we appreciate your contributions to Columbia Southern University as a professor.